Mark Carney said, the middle powers should get together. It's a fantasy. They did that. It's called Europe.
Ooh, the tough pill to swallow for Canada is that no matter what our political elites say, it doesn't make it reality. Slogans and sweet nothings don't get results. But the gaslighting must continue, and you have no idea just how bad it gets. Luckily, I have the receipts for you today. But the gaslighting is not native to just Canada. Europe and America are also faced with massive lies and sometimes downright censorship. And what they're trying to censor right now in Europe will blow your mind. My name's Ellie Daniel, and this is The Right Call. Like, share, subscribe, hype this video up. Any interaction on this channel helps push the truth out, and maybe someday help break that CBC-induced coma that so many Canadians are under. And if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button, because if you like the truth, you found the right place.
The media to run infomercials for him every time someone in his government sends a fax, holds a meeting, or fills out a form. Yesterday, hilariously, or perhaps depressingly, a Liberal minister held a press conference to announce that 3 projects that have been languishing for a decade will now be eligible for consultation on possibly being designated to have their permit application moved from one federal bureau to another federal bureau, after which there will be more consultation, more deliberation, and more study. There has never been, in the history of this country, a government that has had so much publicity for bureaucratic busy work. But bureaucratic busy work does not actually build an economy.
Would it come as a shock to you to hear that CBC refused to include any comments made by Pierre Poilievre to balance their coverage of Carney's press conference yesterday? Pierre spoke and took questions for 56 minutes, and best believe, the media was pressing him on a bunch of issues in a way that they would never do on Carney. But CBC included 0% of it in any of their coverage yesterday. Imagine that for a second, just how much your tax dollars are used to manipulate you. But regarding the fact that Liberals held a presser to self-congratulate themselves on pushing projects to consultation, it reminds me of this.
Fine. Let's ask for a pipeline.
Canada approved 1.
Great.
Subject to consultations.
How many?
Currently, about 10,000.
10,000?
And all of them have to agree.
All of them?
Canada likes to dream big.
Okay. Critical minerals.
Canada announced a critical mineral strategy.
Excellent. How many mines?
0.
How is that possible?
The announcement was approved. The mine wasn't.
Incredible.
What about LNG?
Canada signed an MOU.
What does that mean?
Nothing.
Nothing?
It's like a project, except without the project.
So what can Canada export?
Announcements.
Anything else?
MOUs.
Anything real?
They're currently consulting on that.
Major credit to Satire Squad for this video. They put out some of the best, most hilarious, but yet so factually accurate videos. Highly recommend you guys watch them and give their content to follow. But nothing that the Canadian government ever touches goes well, ever. It's the death of progress, the death of innovation, and definitely the death of results. And it's so damn hard to figure out really what's going on. I don't even think the government knows what's going on. Yesterday, Carney said he never brought up USMCA in discussions with Trump.
The ambassador also said he believed that the next steps would really be at the president and prime ministerial level. I'm wondering if you agree with that. And also, you spoke a lot about your call being about the Middle East. How much did CUSMA play a role in your call?
We didn't discuss CUSMA yesterday. Look,
right. Why would you discuss USMCA, the most pressing economic matter in the country right now? But it's okay, because Carney, never really knowing where he stands on anything, had this to say today.
People listening to you who work in industries that are hard hit by American tariffs, and I'm wondering what you would say to them about why you didn't raise CUSMA with the president when you spoke to him and when you plan to.
I raised issues around messages is clear, but thank you for your question. I raised CUSMA with the president. I have multiple interactions with the president. The discussion I had with the president, which he initiated 2 days ago, was with the security, included the security and senior military personnel of the U.S. It was very specific discussion around security issues, and then geostrategic issues that related to those security issues. There's a time and a place.
Blah, 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 blah. Word salad. Just get it out. What are you trying to say? Oh my God. So today, apparently, he had many robust conversations with Trump about the USMCA. Also, why is it so hard for him to give a straight answer? I think it goes back to the more you lie, the harder it is to keep track of your lies. And clearly right now, Carney is way in and over his head. And he's also probably not used to getting scrutiny. And don't get me wrong, he gets very little with at all from mainstream media. But nonetheless, he forgets that we hold him to account. And unlike a private boardroom where everything is done, behind closed doors and secrecy and privacy, this, not so much. So you're getting a little caught up in your lies there, bud. And speaking of another lie, how about this one?
Canada is now creating jobs at twice the rate of the United States. Our business investments are growing in machinery and equipment at double-digit rates. Non-U.S. exports are up sharply, and we're on track to double them over the next decade.
So Canada is creating jobs at twice the rate that the US is? Well, I need a big red button. I need a lie, because that, my friend, Mr. Prime Minister, is a lie. And I have the receipts. Let's look at Canada's change in total employment to January 2026 and negative 25,000, February 2026 and minus 84,000. March, we added 14,000 jobs. Good job, Carney man. April, oh, never mind, we're down 18,000. But May, we rebounded 88,000. Oh my God, and they congratulated themselves massively on that. It was like never ending, of course. Now let's look at the US. January, 130,000. February, 151,000. March, 228,000. April, 177,000. May, 139,000. We're at minus 25,000 jobs since January, start of the year, versus the US's nearing 1 million additional jobs. Please tell me, where exactly is double the rate of the US? And is this how he ran his bank back in the day? No wonder we were struggling. No wonder the UK struggled under his governorship of the Bank of England. And no wonder we're struggling right now, because apparently basic mathematics is not on the menu for Carney. And if you thought I was done exposing the lies, I got another one, a third one. It's Friday. Let's go deep today.
Build Canada Homes is already committed to building more than 11,000 new affordable homes through 14 different partnerships, with 4,500 homes either already under construction or about to break ground within the next 3 months.
Want to know how many were built so far? 500 maybe? I don't know. Let's be gracious here. 250? Nah, 100. That's rough. 9 homes. 9 homes were built. So yeah, stop being so optimistic, please. Meanwhile, we were told that Mark Carney was a world-renowned banker, a economist extraordinaire. I said that in French to make it more spiffy. But according to an actual world-renowned banker, Jamie Dimon, the CEO, of JP Morgan Chase, Carney's middle power plan is not only a fantasy, but actually, I'll let you see what he says about it.
Mark Carney said, the middle power should get together. It's a fantasy. They did that. It's called Europe. And
it is hard to go to a CFR event these days where Europe doesn't get dumped on, I'm afraid.
But Europe, but this is a serious problem. The GDP of Europe has gone from 90% of America to 70%. And at the current, and our view is it'll probably continue to erode over time because high taxes, I'm not against social safety nets, and we should probably talk about that a little bit too, but they're too high and effective in a lot of countries. They have 100% debt to GDP also, but growing slow is much worse with 100% debt to GDP than growing fast. And they're kind of anti-business, poor tax structures that stop investment, capital formation generally drives growth. A lot of that capital is moving here. Like here's some big numbers for you. Our stock exchange is worth, I think, 60, maybe 70 trillion today. Deutsche Börse, 3. The FTSE at the UK, 4. The French one, 3. And that is serious stuff. And there's not a deep recognition. So Mario Draghi wrote this great report. That is what they need to do. Have a real European Union, open trade services to everyone in there, have a big common market, have a growth strategy and policies that can drive growth, and we should help them.
And this is striking to see. We have Carney who wants to get the middle powers together, basically just Europe together and replace America. And Jamie Dimon right here makes a clear statement as to why Europe is the worst place economically. There's a reason why Americans call Europeans Europores, and it's sad, but it's true. And it's even crazier when you examine this one fact. Europe has 450 million people, all of the EU I'm talking about, 450 million people to America's 340 million people. How many trillion-dollar companies stem from Europe? How many? If you answered anything other than zero, a fat zero, you were wrong. There is not a single trillion-dollar company stemming from Europe. Meanwhile, how many trillion-dollar companies are in the US? 9. $9 trillion companies. NVIDIA, 5 trillion. Alphabet, that's Google, 4.5 trillion. Apple, 4.5 trillion. Microsoft, Amazon, Broadcom, Meta Platforms, Tesla, Berkshire Hathaway. Meanwhile, the most valuable European company is ASML. It's a Dutch company at $628 billion, half of a trillion basically. Followed closely after, not so closely, by Roche, which is Swiss company at 328 billion. That's a third of a trillion. And then SAP, Louis Vuitton, like LVMH and Novartis. And funnily enough, it's even worse when you consider that their top 5 companies in terms of valuation, 2 of them are Swiss, which is not even in the European Union. So you know Canada is in deep trouble as we try to replace the US and get closer to China, get closer to Europe, and then we have an actual elite banker making fun of Carney, grilling him effectively, saying your plan sucks. It's destined to fail. You're on the wrong track. And the fact that the media is not even talking about this. See, it took me 3.5 seconds to pull up numbers to verify and just to showcase the discrepancy between the US and Europe. It's basic journalistic work here. This is not hard. However, what's hard in Canada is not pushing and ramming down the throat of just about everyone in every institution silly ideologies. And I'm using the word silly as a very nice word because if I really wanted to say what I think of it, this video would get censored.
Got a text that said, let's see, I work for the government. I see a lot of postings for BIPOC only, and it clearly states Caucasian, not permitted to apply. So I want to be clear. My money is good enough for you to take. My money is good enough for you to take, spend on things that you think are important, but I am not valuable enough to apply for a job with you. You could see why this might be a little bit upsetting, no? You could see why this might have some people very frustrated, no? They'll say, no, it's not racism, it's a remedy against past racism. You can see why that's, in French we say, bête comme mes pieds. Dumber than my feet, right? You can see that, right?
Man, Ben Mulroney just killed it in that video. He is so right. It is 100% racism. When you discriminate against someone based on their skin color or their race, that's racism. That's textbook racism. Yes, any race, white, black, Asian, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It is racism. Government posting with your tax dollars going towards racist positions. I don't blame the individuals applying for it, by the way. They're sadly just part of the system. But who is the hiring manager? Who is the HR department thinking that this is okay? And this is illegal, by the way. This is flat out illegal. It goes against our equality laws. And the fact that it's coming directly from the government of Canada, this isn't equity. This isn't a remedy for past offenses. If there were past offenses, I don't think Canada was one of those. This is just straight up racism. And the liberals defend this as normal. Actually, as morally righteous even. But call it for what it really is. Racism.
Europe's deadly heatwave is not letting up, and this morning the Spanish health ministry says 212 people died from the heat between Sunday and Thursday alone, and that is just part of the picture so far. At least 100 million people across Europe will experience temperatures north of 95 degrees today. France again shattering records, reporting its hottest day ever as Paris hit 105 degrees. Spain and the UK on alert, Madrid reaching 107 and London 102. The heat dome has even caused power outages. One UK hospital declared a critical incident after cooling systems failed, and Europe's tourists are caught in the middle.
A lot of things got shut down, so it was really disappointing.
Apparently, Europe is not just horrible with building trillion-dollar companies or having a worthwhile economy. Apparently, they're scared of low heat wave. I find that hilarious. Hilarious. Less than 20% of Europe has AC. And they're talking about what? 96 degrees Fahrenheit weather? That's like what? 37 degrees Celsius? Some of them upwards of 40 degrees Celsius. Okay, cool. So like Florida or Texas or like Arizona or even sometimes Montreal in Canada in the freaking summer. Look, I'm going to solve it for Europe. Okay? I'm going to do this in 3.5 seconds. I'm going to save hundreds of lives by AC, by air conditioning. There you go. Problem solved. Moving on. The reason this annoys me, by the way, is because I have plenty of European friends, plenty of people I'm in touch with in Europe. And they're super anti-AC. They're like, it's bad for the planet. It's bad for the environment. You know, there's Freon inside of it, and that's horrible for the environment. It leaks, and then it kills the ozone layer or something. I'm like, okay, do you have a fridge? Do you have a freezer? What do you think's in there? What do you think is in the compressor? How do you think that works? It's the exact same thing. Just get AC. Less than 20% of the freaking continent has AC. And every summer, they claim, heat waves, people die, which is a tragedy. And then after the elites, what they do is say, don't get AC. It's bad for the environment. It uses energy. We need to save the planet because look at this. We're having heat waves, which proves global warming. So no AC or else we're going to have more global warming. We don't have that issue in Canada. We're okay in Canada. We're okay in the US. They're okay in Mexico. They're okay. They're okay in Indonesia. They're okay in the Philippines. Just get AC, bro. You'll be fine. But staying on Europe, and this is major. There's a movie called Citizen Vigilante that was set to be distributed, to be airing in Europe out of Germany. It's a German producer, German company that created this movie. Now, the thing with this movie is that it's controversial, at least for the European elites, because through its storytelling, it looks at real-world cases of illegal migrants committing atrocious acts and the damage it causes on the native population of Europe. It shines a spotlight directly on the massive failure of the government, of the justice system that releases these criminals back onto the streets with slaps on the wrist, and of police who refuse to do anything because they're scared of being called, insert your favorite ism right here. Well, that movie was refused a rating in Germany. The organization in charge of giving ratings, right, R-rated, PG-13, whatever, general, G-rated, refused to give a rating to that movie, thus making it impossible to release in theaters in Germany. So the producer said, hell with it. They released it for free on X, and it's free up until tomorrow. All right, we're Friday the 26th. It's free until tomorrow the 27th. I started watching it. It is hard to watch. It is very hard to watch. However, it is insanely important to break the narrative and give a voice to the victims, the people that are suffering because of our failures, our political failures. And just the fact that they're trying to censor the movie should tell you everything you need to know about it. It's called Citizen Vigilante by Armie Hammer. There you go. Go find it on X. Go find it online. You want to watch this, but be careful. It's hard to watch.
The endorsement of Zohran Mamdani means more than the endorsement of Hakeem Jeffries.
Well, they're going radical left. They're going really, you talk about the Democrat socialists. It's really communist. These people. I watched that woman last night. That's not a socialist. I know socialists. That woman is a communist. And
this is the woman he's talking about.
Finding that, the system of capitalism and racism, and white supremacy, etc., and Islamophobia have all been used, to colonize lands, right, to take resources from other people. And so this is like a long trajectory, and we're just seeing the manifestations of that continuation, right, with 9/11. And so a lot of times when people are asking us to respond about, attack, right, if you look back, historically, right, a lot of us come from lands that were colonized, lands where wars are being waged, right? A lot of times because of U.S. policy or the policies in Europe. And so I find that we can connect over that, but then also that the idea that we have to apologize for a terror attack that a couple of people did, and then there is no apologies or reparations for genocides and for slavery, etc., is something that I kind of find reprehensible.
This lady won the primary for the New York State Senate, and there seems to be a rise of socialism and downright communism happening in Canada, in the US, in Europe as well. And right now, President Trump is calling it for what it is. For him, he's skipping over the socialist label, which is what they like to hide behind, and he's going straight for the communist term, which I think is probably more accurate.
Communism is so often described as an ideology or a belief that exists somewhere other than in the United States. Let me ask you, sir, just how serious a threat to our national security are these communist subversive activities in the United States today?
Well, I think they're serious. I think it's a matter that we should continue to give great care and attention to. We should support the laws which the United States has passed in order to protect us from those who would destroy us from within. We should sustain the Department of Justice in its efforts and the FBI, and we should be continually alert. I think if the United States is maintaining a strong society here in the United States, I think that we can meet any internal threat.
Kennedy was aware of that internal threat, and this is exactly what we're seeing right now. See, it's not, people are always worried about invasion from without, but it's infiltration from within that we have to be worried about because it's silent, it's slow, it's steady, it's insidious, it's sneaky, It's hidden. But once it permeates your every institution, it's too late. There's no going back. And we're at a point right now, especially in New York City, the place that saw, as we know, some horrible attacks. And irrespective of who's really behind it, it brought people together. But we have individuals right now who want to undermine the United States of America, who say out loud that they despise the system that the United States of America is built on, and they want to destroy it and reshape it. This is the most anti-American threat there is, and it's coming from within the walls. And make no mistake, the same thing is happening in Canada. When we have a prime minister that is telling us that we will rapture from our former partners, that we will never be the same with the United States of America, that we need to look towards new connections like China. It makes you wonder, why China? Subversion. I mean, in Canada, we have Chinese police stations operating covertly. We've had Chinese soldiers training on our soil. We've had Chinese diplomats trying to arrest or even arresting Chinese nationals on Canadian soil being deported back to China due to make-believe or due to ideas of dissent. This is happening from within our walls. We're not being invaded. No. We're being infiltrated. Infiltration also comes under the form of foreign interference, like a foreign national such as George Soros donating $102 million in order to sway the US midterm elections that are coming up in November. Why is this happening? Well, that's, again, subversive in nature. It's not an invasion. It's an infiltration. And by the way, George Soros has poured millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in order to appoint district's attorney in various areas of the US, the same DAs that supposedly always let the worst perpetrators of crime, oftentimes illegal aliens that are within the US, off back into public without bail and without deportation. And it makes you wonder, what is the end goal? It's definitely to destabilize the status quo. But to what end? But further, yesterday, the Supreme Court of the United States of America found in a 6-3 decisions that certain Syrians and Haitian temporary protected status individuals would have their status removed, and as such, the U.S. could begin deportation. Well, another make-believe communist infiltrator had this to say.
We saw today the Supreme Court make a decision that is putting so many people's lives in jeopardy. And I just came back from a rally with 1199 as I stood alongside a number of Haitian New Yorkers who are concerned about what this means for their status in our city. And frankly, this city, the one that we love, is one that has been built by so many from so many different parts of the world. And that includes our Haitian brothers and sisters, our Syrian brothers and sisters. And we stand here ready to be in solidarity with all of those who are concerned by today's decision. And beyond just language of solidarity, actions of solidarity. Now, what that means when it comes to our city is if you are worried about what this means for your status, if you're worried about what this means for your family, I would encourage you to call our Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs hotline. And you can do so at 1-800-354-0365. Again, that's 1-800-354-0365. Now, many of you know this is a city of 8.5 million people. More than 3 million of us were born elsewhere.
Blah, 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 blah. We will help protect you and prevent the federal government from deporting you. So basically, you are telling us that you do not uphold the rule of law. The U.S. Supreme Court is the Supreme Court of the land. Their word is final. And they've realized that the laws of the U.S. allow for such a thing to happen. And you will defy it in order to protect illegal aliens in your city. This flies against, this is an affront to the rule of law, to the U.S. Constitution, to the U.S. in general, to your countrymen. Your allegiance should be to the people of your country. But I digress. In a communist's eye, well, we're all just suffering under the bourgeois class, correct? Yeah, sure. Says the kid, by the way, of a wealthy family who has a trust fund. It came out that he attended like the super wealthy private school on top of that. It's always them. It's always them. It's always the champagne socialists. Always. And don't let them lecture you about what's right or what's wrong. Because if you look on the left, the liberals, it's always the exact same playbook.
I'll confess something to y'all. Clinton was a lawyer in Arkansas. Grew up poor, relatively broke. How the hell him and the Clinton Foundation is worth hundreds of millions of dollars beats me. Barack Obama was a community organizer who became the president of the United States, and last time I checked, that salary ain't over $450,000 if I remember correctly. I got to double check that. How the hell you depart from office? You worth over $200 million now?
Right? It seems that, a certain political elite class utilize public office in order to enrich themselves. Clinton's net worth before office was $1.3 million. Clinton's net worth when he left office was roughly $120 million. Obama's net worth before office was $1.3 million as well. Obama's net worth today, $70 million. Well, Carney, before coming into office, multi-zillionaire, we know that already. But Carney in office, why is he there? Well, we've spoken about this on this channel before. We will continue to do so, but it is all and only to protect the portfolio companies of the Brookfield Global Transition Fund 1, because those companies were failing. There's investment into net zero, carbon neutral, carbon capture, decarbonized oil and whatnot is being rejected by the world ever since President Trump came into office in the US and, the economy's turned back around towards common sense. Well, he came to the helm of Canada in order to save those things, and now the economy will suffer because of it, but those companies will make a lot of money because, hey, it's always fun when your primary client and the one that directs the entire economy of a country is, well, your former managing director who has a personal vested interest into making sure the companies do well. Hundreds of millions of dollars, potentially billions of dollars in personal vested interest, may I add. So if you haven't seen it, I break down in this video right here the Brookfield Global Transition Fund 1 and the conflicts of interest, the massive conflicts of interest that are found with Prime Minister Carney. Now, if you've enjoyed this report and would like to find a way to get yourself involved, I have a Patreon in the description, also a PayPal link for one-time donations. All money goes towards helping me stay independent and spend more time doing research and exposing the truth. But aside from that, you can like, share, subscribe, hype the video, all the good stuff. It is so tremendously appreciated. But for the time being, my name is Elliot Daniel, and I'll go enjoy my weekend. Hope you do as well.